I thought I was done. I am not. I'm never done. There's always more to say. The WTC is one of the best things that has happened to my game life. Yes, there's a lot of things to be salty about right now. Maybe before the WTC, even more. There was a lot of things that we could complain about, but meeting all these people from around the world, getting to get new friends that are as big as nerds as myself, and competing at a high level really is something that I enjoy. So can't complain. I had another message, and that was from Pat of the Snafu guys, and he asked me if I could possibly say something about his list for the WTC. I had talked a bit to Pat when we met in Ireland. I'd also talked to Pat when we did an interview for their podcast. So I knew him a bit, but it was really nice meeting you in person, Pat. And that is one of the greatest things about this hobby. It is actually meeting people and playing games with strangers that become your friends. So I will talk you guys through Pat's list and maybe do some of the feedback. I don't feel like I can. I don't feel like I have the authority to correct anything that's in the list, but I will give you my spin on it, Pat. What I think about it, and yeah, Pat went, and I just read it, 3 victories, 2 draws, and 1 loss, something like that. So he did pretty well. That would be counted a win, a goal achieved on my team. So he had brought a British list. It was a single platoon, 14 order dice. 14 order dice, 14 to 16 is my golden spot, where you still have some stamina in your units, but you have enough order dice to actually not just be run over by the first horde army you come across, right? So a really good points order dice mix here. It was a single platoon, and I believe the WTC didn't show it very clearly because some of the players who were there were really good at using single platoons, but I do believe that dual platooning may be the way to go competitively. I think there may be some slight edge you can grab out of that second platoon, but I'm not sure. And in this case, Pat really didn't need it. Not for his list. There's nothing here that he misses completely that would have been better had he had 2 platoons. So he is bringing a inexperienced second lieutenant. God, we've seen a lot of those, haven't we? And then 2 Gurkha sections of 7 men with rifles. He's bringing 1 further Gurkha section with 7 rifles and 1 SMG. I'm guessing that there's something with the points here, which I'm not a huge fan, but that is again because I've been playing Gurkhas for quite a long time, and I feel like 8 to 9 men is what you need in a unit that really is assaulty. You can also play Gurkhas in another way, in my opinion, and that is you go minimum unit size. You go 5-man Gurkhas, you tool them up with as many SMGs as you can fit. I believe the para Gurkhas can have more than 1, and the regular Gurkhas can have like 2 SMGs or something like that. And then you stuff them into Bren carriers, and they get out and they SMG stuff, and then they can sort of maybe charge from there. I am not a huge fan of doing that. I know other people who are. This is a sort of mix of the unit size. I don't know how they worked out for you, Pat. For me, I would lack that 1 extra dude, bringing them up to an 8-man unit. Simply, it's a matter of how many charges do you have in your unit, right? Pat does have something that will enable him to charge like one more time than I would expect. I'll get back to that. Infantry wise, he still has two more infantry choices. So a lot of veterans in this list here. So far he has had 14. He has 22 Gurkhas, and then he has two 8-man units of Chindits. Chindits are basically Americans. They can move and fire like Americans do. He has 7 rifles, 1 LMG. I am definitely not an LMG fan. And for units that are backline units, if you're giving them LMGs, I would expect them to be backline units. But the Chindits are actually really good skirmish units. They're really good outflankers. They're really good for moving up to the mid table and just moving about, shooting and delivering pins. Do you really need the LMG for that? I think you could save the points for that and simply go all rifles for your Chindits. You will still deliver the pins. Yes, you won't be as killy, but most of the time, if you're shooting with an LMG and all those rifles, won't the opponent just go down? Maybe. That is my thought process. Again, I am not someone who has any authority to say this is wrong or right. That's just my ideas. Skirmishes, I don't think the skirmishes actually need the LMG. I think they need the rifles. And they are good skirmishes. They're really good. I hope you enjoy playing them because they're also kind of fun to play. Then he has the regular forward artillery observer. Of course, he's playing British. That is really good for breaking up enemies coming at you or for prepping your own assaults with the Gurkhas. All of this benefits from, well, maybe not all of it. He has chosen Blood Curling Charge as his national special rule. Now, this gives him the ability to charge 12 inches without being shot at. That is awesome. To me, it's not the best national special rule for Gurkhas, but it is really, really good. It does allow those long charges where you don't lose troops, and that's where I was like, he's actually making sure that he has one more charge than I normally get out of my units, even though he has fewer men, because his units won't get shot on the way in. So a few more Gurkhas will survive to get into close combat, which means that the next time the unit charges, they will have maybe 6 men or 5, and they will still be effective. Whereas my Gurkhas, they have 2, maybe 3 charges, and that's it. I am out. That is it. Then the rest of the Gurkhas will go down or do something else. So I like the Blood Curling Charge. I personally feel like Up and Atom is better because that will ensure that you get to charge even though you're pinned. This army list is pretty vulnerable to pins. There's nothing in it that cannot be pinned, which is a bad thing going into the WTC meta where there's a lot of machine guns and a lot of vehicles that can split fire. So if you felt like, Pat, that you had a lot of pins and that you failed order tests during the weekend, I'm guessing that's why. I'm simply guessing that you had made yourself too vulnerable to pins. And Gurkhas failing their charge roll that sucks big time, right? They need to be able to charge in my eyes. So therefore, I use mine using the Up and Atom special rule, which you can even go really gamey and say, well, I'm charging, but you're out of range. Yeah, but that means I run forward. So you can, even though you're pinned, just Up and Atom in your own back line, running them forward, right? So let me talk you through the support sections, and you'll see why this list is so easily pinnable.
Pat is bringing a regular medium mortar with spotter. This is a fan favorite of the Danish meta. I'm not particularly a fan of it myself, especially when you have the rest of your army so mobile, very, very mobile. This becomes the one of two pieces that are immobile, which is a trade-off, I guess. I can see the toolbox mentality here at work. You need some HE, you need some indirect fire, and this delivers it really cheaply, really well. But it is immovable. It just sits there. It doesn't move in many games, right? A regular sniper team, a regular 40mm Bofors gun, the autocannon, again, immovable. Yes, and especially on the WTC tables, this may have been a brilliant idea because you could shut down lines with your autocannon with all those trucks and 7+ Bren carriers and all the darker stewards. You could shut down that just laying down an ambush with your Bofors gun. However, it is immobile. It is stuck there. It won't really do much unless the enemy actually goes into their zone. So you're going to have to play very carefully, very deliberately with it, and it is pretty vulnerable to indirect fire itself. Then he has a British Airborne Recce Jeep. Oh, this is my damn favorite. I love my Jeeps. The twin MMG, they are so fast, they're so fun to play. The enemy quite often will not shoot that much at you because you're not that big of a threat, but you're really annoying. It's really a great, great tool. Then Pat brings a Bofors AA truck, again with the autocannon. I am not a fan of this. I would have rather cut out the Bofors truck, cut out the Bofors gun as well, use the points to buy a Steward. I think you would have gotten more out of Steward in support. I can see where you're coming from. I can see the wanting to go that autocannon, but for Brits, it's really difficult. We don't have the Cougar Blitz, right? We don't have the Wirbelwind, so it becomes more tricky somehow. And then two 30 CVT trucks with MMG. I can also see why you did this with the MMGs, because if you had gone 15 CVT trucks, you couldn't get the MMGs. But what are you using these trucks for? They are pretty expensive as they are. That's 100 points in just two MMGs on trucks. If you're using them as mobile machine gun nests, yes, you can do that. They're pin vulnerable. But they will deliver pins to the enemy. They will deliver fire from your own back line. But if you're going to use them as transport, 10 men transport capacity on a 30 CVT. That doesn't really fit any heavy units. So you're paying too many points per transport berth, and you don't have enough transport to transport more than 2 units up. So 2 of your Gurkha units can move up. The last one is going to have to foot slug it. So it's neither fish nor fowl, if you get what I'm saying here. It's not a true like swing wing. I am going to move my assault troops up into one position, get out of the trucks, because you don't have the trucks for it. And at the same time, your trucks are too big for what they actually need to transport. You're buying them as big just to have a machine gun, but you're paying too many points compared to what you get out of them. Again, my viewpoint of this is, of course, the meta I am in and what I do. I've been looking at the same lists and doing something different with that. I would rather have an inexperienced 15 CVT truck
to transport my 8 Gurkhas to where they need to go. Then the truck is basically a free tool from there on in. It's a point in some missions. It's a blockade in some other missions, but I don't use it where it can get hurt. I will always try to find a parking lot where it can stay in relative safety, which I think I lost 1 truck over the weekend, so my trucks were really doing well. And I didn't use them that much for transport, actually. I'm thinking about cutting them way out of my lists in the future.